dysfunctional thing all the way along.
But for him, no win, no loss, though. He's come out of this fine.
Well, he's
intact.
He's seen rougher things in a presidential campaign.
Right, exactly.
He's seen much rougher things in a presidential campaign, and Obama, with great deftness, is reeling McCain in. I will bet you that one of the people that Obama talks to the most on Capitol Hill over the next couple of years is John McCain.
And for Sarah Palin, any predictions?
Yeah, I think she'll be out there in 2012. I think Republicans are of two minds about it. Some gnash their teeth at the thought. They think she really hurt the ticket. They think she hurts the whole Republican brand. But there are a lot of people out there at the grassroots who really like Sarah Palin, who think she was treated shabbily by the press, and who take note of the fact, for example, that very little has been made in the mainstream media about the torching of her church out there in Wasilla.
That's true.
I mean, if that had been the other way around with Joe Biden's church in Wilmington, it would be on the front page every day. Now, it's true, it's way out in Alaska.
Or Obama's church in Chicago.
Or Obama's former church in Chicago.
Yes, former.
Formers, we stress former.
Well, so you know, now we're moving forward. Now we're going to see what comes of all of this. And obviously, you know, the economy is like a tsunami that's taken over everybody. I'm curious, do you think the media that you're part of is equipped to report this economic story in a way that truly serves us?
The short answer to that is no. The short answer to that is no. I think newspapers, especially the business press, is obviously best equipped, but I think most of them would admit that they haven't necessarily done a superb job on that. I think some publications have tried. I think some investigative reporters have tried. The problem with reporting this in all its dimensions is that it is global, it is multilingual, it is unbelievably complex, it is abstract, it is, it requires knowledge of math, which is a sure killer for any reporter, I can assure you. Just ask us about filling out our expense accounts. And it takes a lot of time to figure it out, and time to figure out how to explain it clearly.
To not be reactive.
And to get ahead of it and not be reactive. Also, it's secretive. Don't forget, with billions and trillions of dollars at stake, people don't want to talk to you. They're not running for anything. They're running from things. Yeah. So, you know,
but it's affecting everyone, yes, so you have to
The gnomes of Zurich are called gnomes for a reason. Right. I mean, they don't want to talk to you. The guys on Wall Street, generally speaking, don't want to talk to you, the ones who really run stuff. So it's very, very difficult, and I think, no, the media has done a terrible job, almost as bad as the regulators who should have been following this. If I can make reference to my book again, which is called The 13 American Arguments, there are limits to individualism. And one of the chapters in the book is about the argument between individualism and collective action as it relates to the economy. Now, Democrats and Republicans alike, starting in the Reagan 80s and then in the Bill Clinton 90s, said, you know what, we've regulated business too much, we're killing the goose that lays the golden egg. The Democratic Leadership Council was the pro-business wing of the Democratic Party. They supported Bill Clinton, helped him get elected. They helped produce Fannie and Freddie, the mess up there, up the street, up Wisconsin Avenue. And then Bush II took it to a whole new level of inattention because of Bush's own fundamental lack of interest in government. And coupled with his philosophy, which is we like businessmen and we don't like lawyers. And the government has too many lawyers in it. And so it's been a party of inattention from regulators since the 80s, essentially. And finally, we're paying for it. Now, government is not the answer. Government is never the answer. But the trick of this, and what I try to explain in the book, is that it's the equipoise, it's the balance among the competing forces of the market and the state, and to take two of the main forces in our lives, that we have to maintain a balance of, and we haven't. We lost it. We completely lost it. Also because once it became globalized, there was no global regulator of
We
anything.
lost it while we were all out shopping.
We were all out shopping, and it was our duty as Americans to consume, and we did that with great patriotism. And so now we're paying for it big time, and it's going to take, by my estimate, a long time to get out of it. And no, we haven't done a good job of explaining it.
And the media itself is succumbing to the same forces. I mean, do we even think 5 years from now the mainstream media as we know it will look like what it looks like today? It's downsizing itself as you and I sit here. I mean, will Newsweek still be here 5 years from now?
Oh yeah, Newsweek will be here in print form. It'll be here in print form for a long time to come. I would venture to say that publications like Newsweek and Time, however challenged and stressed they are more likely to be in existence 25 years from now than the New York Times on paper. And that is because the internet is absolutely consuming, devouring the functions and profitability of daily newspapers. Because of the
and cable TV
and
too.
Cable TV, because of the immediacy. Newspaper, you used to get up in the morning to read the newspaper and learn the news. Well, most of you who are obviously news junkies, or you wouldn't be in here, know what's in the newspaper before you get it in the morning in terms of the news. So I think the explanatory and investigative functions that and narrative functions that work well in a magazine will survive. It's the traditional daily newspaper on paper that won't. But journalism is not dead. The act of picking up the phone or going somewhere to interview someone or going to some place to find out what the heck is going on, that's never going to change. It's hopefully it's the delivery vehicles that that will change, and the internet is where everything is going and will be.
Do you well, I have a few things. Our time's running up. There's a few things I want to get to. I want to get to one more thing about your book, and that was, obviously you wrote your book before the campaign, so it was very interesting to me that you had a chapter on what it means to be an American, since that became such an issue with Obama. That must have resonated especially for you.
Well, yeah, I started writing the book in, I thought of the book in '05. I've been mulling it for some time. The idea of it is that there's a series of arguments that I arrange in concentric circles, starting with the question of who is a person, which is so fundamental in American life. And the second ring is who is an American. And so I did talk about immigration a lot there. And actually, somebody that I met the other day, who is a woman who is a student at Cambridge University in England, who came over here to the United States to do her senior paper comparing the Jesse Jackson campaign with the Barack Obama campaign, and who was looking for somebody who'd actually been around long enough to see both of those campaigns, and found me. She said, you know, to me, and she was Pakistani, she was British, but her family's Pakistani. She said, to me, the Obama story is not so much a race story, although it is that, as an immigration story. And that a lot of people read the Obama story or saw the Obama story as fitting into the framework of an immigrant family, that he was an immigrant to America. And I thought that was incredibly astute of her, because she was seeing it through her lens. And I think it is important, and I think it's one of the things that keeps us fresh and keeps America America. And we just have to figure out a way to square the stress on jobs in the economy with the need to continue waves of immigration in the country. I learned a lot of history as I wrote this book, and one of them is that we've gone through cycles of opening the doors and closing them and opening them and closing them. We've done that from the very beginning. We're in a mood to close the doors now, but of course we're now closing the doors to keep the immigrants from leaving. I mean, actually a lot of legal and illegal immigrants are leaving. There are no jobs here. They'd rather go back to at least where they have some traditional
I want to go to China, probably.
ties to the traditional culture.